There are 3 magic words that if you use them, you'll get people to do whatever you want. What are they? Stay tuned.
He's built multi-million-dollar companies. His explosive books on health and wealth have sold over 60 million copies. Now, the Kevin Trudeau Show they don't want you to know.
Kevin Trudeau here. Kevin Trudeau Show, everything they don't want you to know about to improve the quality of your life. Buckle up for the next hour on the brand new set. John Denny, longtime friend for over 30 years. Ultra left-wing liberal from Hollywood. One of my best friends. Oh, we had spirited discussions about all types of things. So glad to have you here. So the first thing is, John is now the boss. I don't have any say in the show. He runs the whole show now. He's in charge. He built the whole brand new set. So we should have better sound, better lighting, better everything coming over the next few months. So look for improvement after improvement after improvement. But the first thing is the set. Do you like the set? And I need you to go to the comments? Right, the comments, and put in there whether John gets to keep his job or not. John's over there wondering if he should be packing his suitcases. He's right on the edge. So this is really up to you. Now, do you like this new set? I mean, look, it's your call. Do you like the new vibe, the new set? So put something into the comments about whether you like the set or not. We're in for a fantastic show. The last show I gave you the update. If you didn't watch the last show, you need to, because just a quick update for those of you who don't know, I've been fighting with the government and dealing with the government for 30 years, and I've done nothing wrong except expose the truth about the pharmaceutical industry primarily and the food industry, and how pesticides and herbicides and the drugs are affecting your health in a negative way. I've exposed what they don't want you to know about. I exposed how the government and the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry work together to suppress the free flow of information so that you don't know the truth. They want you to be sick. They want you to buy their drugs every day for the rest of their life. They want you to have a lower IQ and to succumb to their will and control. And I've been exposing this for decades, and this is why I was attacked by the government. In the book, Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About, which I wrote 20 years ago, was the #1 New York Times bestseller for 26 weeks in a row, #1 on the New York Times list, 26 weeks in a row. That's half of the year. It was the #1 best-selling book in all of America the year it came out. Sold over 50 million copies. No publisher would publish it. I had to publish it myself. That's unheard of and completely unprecedented. And it's because I was willing to go in front of the firing squad and say what nobody dared say, the truth, that could help you. And they put me in prison for 10 years. They sued me. No finding of wrongdoing after that lawsuit. The next lawsuit, no finding of wrongdoing. The next lawsuit, no finding of wrongdoing. They finally got me on contempt of court because they ordered me to shut up. They ordered me to stop exposing the truth. And I said, no, I'm exercising my First Amendment constitutional rights. And I got a $37 million order to pay the government. And I've been in litigation for 30 years on this issue. And in order to shut me up, they put me in prison for 10 years. 10 years for contempt of court, not a crime, not a felony, not even a misdemeanor. Did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. It's all over a book. It's all about expressing opinions. And now here we are. Last Friday, the judge signed what looks like to be a final order ending my case once and for all after 30 years. It's a miracle, really beyond miracles. There's only one little caveat. He said the case is effectively closed. He signed the order. On the last show I did, on Monday's show, I showed you the copy of that signed order. The only caveat is, in 9 days from today, a week from this Friday, 9 days from today, I have to write a check for $725,000. Okay, that's great. Up until now, they've taken all the money. So we don't have any. And this is why on Monday I appealed for you one last time, because I can either go back to prison, because if I don't pay, I'm ordered to pay by Friday. And there's a deadline by Friday, 9 days from now. And if I pay that, the case is effectively over. And so I appealed and said, hey, many of you have been so generous over the last couple of years. And you've been a blessing, and thank you so much. And I appealed. I said, hey, we're at the finish line here. I need a little bit of help. And if you can go to KevinTrudeauFanClub.com and make a one-time contribution of any amount, it will save me, because it'll give me the money. Now, just in the last 2 days, since the show came out on Monday, of the $725,000, I'm already, I think I owe now, we got in around 200. So we're getting closer. So your generous contributions are saving the day. And I just checked before we got on the show, and some contributions are coming in. We need more. We're about 500,000 away. So of the 725,000, we still got about 500,000 to go. And we talked to the government, and if anybody wants to write a big check of 25,000 or 50,000 or 100,000, we can accept that. It's absolutely fine. And some of you may think, no, he's just asking for money. Look, God works through people. That's how it works. You can ask for miracles, and at the end of the day, miracles come through people. And I've been that guy. I remember there was a fellow that I knew, good friend of mine, and his wife called frantic. He was put in prison in Florida, charged with some real estate fraud. He was a big real estate investor, had a lot of properties, and was doing a lot of real estate transactions. And they said his transactions were fraudulent. And they arrested him and put him in prison on a $250,000 cash bail, not bond. They would only accept cash. And because he was highly leveraged, they didn't have $250,000 in cash. And this is about 30 years ago. And his wife called and said, Kevin, I hate to ask, can you help? It's a loan. She said, it's just a loan, and he'll pay it back. And I said, look, I happen to be in a position where I can help. I've been blessed, and I happen to currently be in that position, and I am feeling led to help. So don't worry, I'll come down on the next plane. As a matter of fact, I had my private jet all teed up, ready to go. So I called my pilots, and I said, let's fly down, and I gave the cash. I posted the bail. He got out, and he was in tears, and he said, man, all the friends I thought I had, they all vanished. And I was there for him because I was in a position to help. I felt led to. And at the time, $250,000 30 years ago, that's a lot of money. That's, over $1 million. And in cash, companies run. Sometimes you're cash rich. Sometimes you're not cash rich. Sometimes you just don't have, you're not liquid. It's called not being liquid. And at that point, we weren't super liquid. We had a lot of investments out that were going to be panning out in the next, 6, 12, 24 months, 5-year type investments and things. So I wasn't cash rich, but I did have that cash. It kind of wiped out my accounts, but I could do it. I made a sacrifice, and I did it. And I gave it to him. And I said, no, I go, look, pay me back whenever you can. Don't worry about it. And I didn't expect I'd ever see the money back from him, because that's how things work out. But I knew that I was planting a seed into the universe, and it would all work out some way, somehow. Well, I gave him the money, and he spent the money. He did get out, and he now had to finance his lawyers. So he didn't have a lot of money for that. Years went by, because that's how long litigation goes, and he finally won his case, and he got the money back. Well, the money didn't go back to me. It went to the lawyers. Never expected to see the money ever again. I never asked for the money. To me, it was a gift. If he wanted to pay it, fine. If he didn't, he didn't have to. Well, he got sideways and was never in a position to pay it back. And I never asked, and I still remained a friend, but he was afraid to call me. He was afraid to go out with me because he was embarrassed and that he couldn't pay the money back, and he didn't want to be in a position where I would ask for the money back. And so I said, hey, let's get together for dinner. And he, and one time I went to dinner, and he was just a nervous wreck. And during the dinner, I never brought it up one time. It was like it never happened. and he couldn't believe it. And we had a couple meetings later, and I never brought it up again, and he never brought it up again. But I can tell you, my businesses exploded. They went spectacular. And when you look at the graph and you look at the day that I gave him that money, and then you look at the explosion in my business over the next 6, 12, 24 months, when I would put those graphs together and my team would look, they saw this specific dramatic increase in profitability. And they all said, what action took place right here, right around this date? What marketing thing did you do different? I said, I didn't do anything different. I gave away money. And that's how it works. The book Karmic Management, which is on my recommended book list, talks about that. The book The Diamond Cutter talks about that. I've given lectures on the power of giving and how it works. And my business has exploded. It was because of my giving did my business explode without wanting anything in return. Well, fast forward about 20 years, I get a phone call from this fellow. And he says, Kevin, I cannot believe you've never asked for that $250,000 back, nor have you ever brought it up. I said, listen, I was in a position to help. I felt led to. Whatever you want to do is 100% okay with me, my friend. You're my friend. And he says, well, I made a couple good real estate deals, finally, after all this time, and I'm ready to pay you back. I says, you don't have to. He says, no, I need to. And he didn't pay me back $250,000. He gave me a check for $1 million. And he used the phrase, Kevin, I always remember my friends. And I laughed and I said, yeah, I know. I always remember my friends too. So if any of you have the capacity to give, great. And if you don't, that's perfectly okay too. 9 days from now, if I don't have the $725, which I am ordered to pay, I'll have to go to the judge and say, I can't do it. You want to put me back in prison? Go ahead. If I can write the check, it's over effectively, and we win. And most importantly, you win. So it's going to be great. So just think about that, because I'm here to help you and give you the techniques and the tools from the secrets that I know on how to improve the quality of your life. Now, I'm going to talk about the three magic words to help you get someone to give you what they want. I'm going to talk about those secrets of communication today. I'm going to give you a little taste. So buckle up and take some notes or watch this again. But before I do, I had mentioned the challenges I had with government. There's a massive shift going on. Donald Trump, who's the new president of the United States, some of you hate him, some of you like him, some of you ain't too sure yet. I had a guy who hated Trump. He was another good friend of mine, ultra left-wing liberal, good friend of mine. And when Trump won the first time, of the 3 times that he won, when he won the first time, some of you will get that one on the way home. When Trump won the first time and was actually allowed to go into the White House and become president, my friend wanted to commit suicide. He thought the world was coming to an end. He thought the stock market was going to crash. He thought there'd be massive wars all over the world. He thought there'd be a World War III. Nukes would go off. Poverty would skyrocket. He thought there'd be riots in the street, a U.S. Civil War. Business was collapsed. The dollar would collapse. It would be catastrophic in every aspect, economically, socially. World peace would go away. Thought it was terrible. Then, all of a sudden, his portfolio started growing. Regulations came down. There was a sense of sanity that he hated the way Trump acted, and he hated the way some of the things Trump said, and he hated the way he treated certain people in his past actions. But he kept scratching his head and said, you know, I'm actually starting to think that the policies that he's implementing with the people that he's bringing in, I do kind of agree with, and actually it's producing good results. And I hate to say it, Kevin, I really hate to say it. He actually voted for Trump the second time when Trump won the second time. And then he voted for Trump the third time here. And he kept on saying, I so hope he gets in. So hope he gets in. And I go, you hated this guy. He goes, I'm still a left-wing liberal. He said, but I do hope Trump gets in. So he called me. He goes, let's pop the champagne. So some of you like him. Some of you hate him. Some of you ain't too sure. Some of you, and listen, whatever political side of the aisle you're on or spectrum, we have no problem. We can debate and talk about it. And nobody really knows mine because I kind of go all over the board. But Trump tweeted something, and when I read this, virtually tears came to my eyes, but it's no surprise. It says Donald Trump. This is from Donald Trump. I believe it was on X. And he said, I'm thrilled to announce Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services. Now pay attention. He says, this is Donald Trump saying, for too long, Americans have been crushed by the industrial food complex and drug companies who have engaged in deception, misinformation, and disinformation when it comes to public health. Does that sound like he's reading from Kevin Trudeau's words right out of my book, Natural Cures? The safety and health of all Americans is the most important role of the administration, and Health and Human Services will play a big role in helping ensure that everybody will be protected from harmful chemicals in the food, pollutants, pesticides, pharmaceutical products, and food additives that have contributed to the overwhelming health crisis in this country. When I said that, they put me in prison. And now the President of the United States is saying it because it's true. How exciting is that? How exciting is that? But I'll tell you, Trump and the administration has a massive battle on their hands, a massive uphill battle. I'll tell you, there is entrenched over 2 million federal employees and millions more of contractors that run the government. These people are not elected. They can't be fired. Isn't it interesting that they set it up so that when you hire somebody in the federal government, once they're hired, it's almost impossible to fire them, regardless of their job performance. Trump is up against this overwhelming deep state bureaucracy of people that want to keep their job and want to increase their power and control over your life, regardless of what the people that you elected say. This group, they think they know better, and they refuse to leave. They refuse to give up control. There's an article here. It says, the federal courts are full of old judges who should retire but won't, and little can be done about it. This whole article talks about how federal judges are in their 80s and 90s. Their cognitive skills are gone. They don't read briefs. They don't read the cases. They don't read the case law. They drool. They fall asleep while they're on the bench. They can't remember anybody's name. They can't remember what they're talking about. And these are the people ruling and making decisions in federal court. The clerks do all the work. These guys are nothing but control freaks. And this happens all throughout the federal government. There is a massive push in federal governments around the world for the employees, the bureaucrats, to do what they want. So Trump is going to, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they got a long road to hoe. They got a long road to hoe and a big uphill battle. So we will see how things turn out. The last thing before I start getting into the three magic words and how to get people to do what you want and communicate better, there's this left-right conversation. You know, am I a conservative? Am I a left-wing liberal? Am I a Republican? Am I a Democrat? Am I a moderate? Am I an independent? What does it all mean? Who's a fascist? No one even knows what the word fascist means. Try to define it. What's the difference between a fascist and a communist and a socialist? Nobody, you can't tell me. One day I'll do a little lecture on the difference between those three. There's a capitalist, there's a socialist, there's a communist, and there's a fascist, and they're all different. And they're all loose terminology. We were called capitalists, but initially we were called a free enterprise system. You don't hear that anymore. Free enterprise, free enterprise. We hear capitalists, which is different, slightly different than free enterprise. And there's socialist. What's that? What's socialism? What is communism? How is socialism and communism different? Do you have any idea? No. And what's fascism? And what's a republic? And how is a republic different than a democracy? And what's a parliamentary system? And how is different than is a parliament system a democracy? And what about a democratic republic? We don't even know these words anymore because no one goes to school. Or we go to school and we don't learn anything. But one thing, a lot of you, if you're on the left or the right side, I want to bring something up. There is a lot of excitement from some people with some of the laws in some states, mostly states with a high amount of devout Christians, both in the population and in elected officials. And there was a law that said the 10 Commandments must be displayed in schools. And the argument is that America is a Christian nation because it was founded by Christians. It wasn't founded by Muslims, and it wasn't founded by Jews, and it wasn't founded by Hindus. It was founded by devout Christians who read the Bible, quoted the Bible in all of congressional hearings and debates. When the founding fathers started America, they said a prayer, a Christian prayer with a Bible, and that's how they started session. Right now, there's a minister, a chaplain in Congress that's paid for by you. It's a Christian guy. And they say a prayer. They still say a Christian prayer today. So there's an argument that America was founded on not just godly principles. Our currency says, in God we trust. Doesn't say in communism we trust, or in socialism we trust, or in politicians we trust, or in government we trust. It says in God we trust. And so there's an argument that America is not just a godly nation, because that's how it was founded, and that's historically factual, but it was a Christian nation. And remember, the First Amendment, which separates church and state, that's the big argument. The reason that was put in is because people forget America was an English colony. So everybody who came to America was from England. And people forget that England, the King of England wanted to get divorced, and the Pope said no. And so the King of England said, well, the hell with you, I'm starting my own church. And he started a church, and he became the Pope. And so everybody who was in England had to be a member of the state church, the Church of England. People forget the history. So when America started, they said there will be a separation between church and state. There will not be one state religion that every member of society has to be a member of. That's the separation of church and state. It didn't mean that people who are elected office can't be godly, can't practice their religion, can't even promote their religion. It just said that there can't be one established, government-run and controlled religion that everyone has to be a member of. Okay. So with that in mind, a lot of people say, listen, the 10 Commandments, which is really not accurate, it's called the 10 Utterances. If you actually look at the scripture and do a correct translation, where God gives basically some rules of ethics and morals. Thou shalt not kill. Well, it doesn't say thou shalt not kill. Translated properly, it says thou shalt not commit murder. Because after the 10 Commandments if it did say, thou shalt not kill, how come the next day God said, I want the Israelites to go in and kill all the Canaanites, everybody, kill them all? Wait, you just told us that not to kill. So the commandment says, thou shalt not murder. And you shouldn't steal, and you shouldn't have sex with your neighbor's wife, that type of thing. So there's these rules. So some lawmakers said we should put in, to promote morality with our kids, we should put in the school and show them the 10 Commandments so that we don't forget the 10 Commandments and the morality, and the kids know about God. Okay. So some of you think that sounds like a good thing. And some of you think, no, you can't do that because it's encouraging everybody, all the kids, to be Christians. Well, no, it's from the Old Testament. It actually would promote them to be Jews or Christians. But you say, no, we can't have that in there. And there's a good argument for that, because these same legislators who say we must put the 10 Commandments up in every school are the same ones who say, but we can't do any yoga exercises because yoga is of the devil. Nor can we have any quotes from the Quran. Nor can we have any quotes from any of the Hindu texts, the Mahabharata or the Ramayana or the Vedas. You can't have a picture of Krishna because that's a heathen thing. That's a non-Christian God. So you can't have that. You can't talk about a Torah. You can't, because you can't mention the word Torah because that would promote Judaism. You can't have anything from the Book of Mormon. Oh my gosh, no. No, we can't have the Book of Mormon in there. But we can have Bibles in the school. So if you really didn't want to promote a religion, why not put the 10 Commandments up, but also put some quotes out of the Quran and the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and the Vedas? Why don't you have a Torah, all the different scriptural books, the Quran? Why don't you have them so that the kids who come in see that there's more than one religion? You know, when I grew up, I went to Catholic school. And I saw the movie The 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston. And I remember thinking, well, look, of course there's only one God, and he's the Jewish God. I mean, look at Moses, and look at how God came in and parted the Red Sea, and look at how he beat the Pharaoh by turning, the River Nile into blood. I mean, look at the miracles that God, I saw the movie. And as a kid, I thought that's what really happened, exactly like that. That Moses took the staff, waved it in there, touched the river, and from the staff, blood started coming out, and the whole river started. I thought that's how it happened. And I thought the parting of the Red Sea was like, just like it was in the 10 Commandments, because I was a young kid, very, very impressionable. So the idea of any other religion, I thought everybody's stupid if they don't believe in the Christian God. Does that make sense? So young people are very impressionable. So the point is, if you're a right-wing conservative, or if you're a left-wing Christian, a left-wing liberal, there's a balance here. There really, really is a balance. So the reason I bring this up is, take a deep breath, relax, be compassionate, be understanding. I'm going to dinner with John Denny tonight. We're going to do a little celebrating on his new set, or he gets fired if all of your comments say, I hate the set, go back to the old one. John, yeah. So John told me I can't use the pictures anymore of my ancestors. So I actually may bring them out and auction them off, because I get a lot of pictures from my ancestors. I might auction them off. I told him it should go right there. Right. How do we do it? Right there. I told him it should go right there. But I'm not the boss anymore of the show. He's in charge. If you want the pictures of the ancestors back, you'll leave a lot of comments. Make sure it goes there. All right. So my point is, get along with everybody. If you're a right-wing conservative, if you're a left-wing liberal, get together, have some dinner. Be nice to each other. why hate each other? And I have to say, right-wing conservatives don't hate left-wing liberals as much as left-wing liberals hate right-wing conservatives. The left-wing liberal who's supposed to be compassionate and understanding of different people's viewpoints, they're the ones who say we need to be inclusive. Well, include your right-wing conservative friend. Try to be inclusive of that. Be nice, like each other. I get along with everybody. It doesn't matter what they believe, what their political feeling is, what their sexual orientation is. Doesn't matter to me. I get along with everybody. I have compassion for everybody, and I encourage you to practice that. It'll make you a better person. You'll sleep better at night because you'll understand the concept, which is care, but not that much. By the way, there is one big problem with this set, and you guys can't see it. They didn't move the clock. It's way over there now. So I have to look at that and see what time it is. All right. So let's talk about some magic of how you can have influence over other people. First off, there's a couple books that you should read. If you haven't read them, it's on my recommended list. This one here, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. One of the best books of all time on dealing with people. You should read it and then read it again and then read it again and then read it a few more times, underline things, and apply what you're reading every day and go back to the book. Any book by Dale Carnegie is spectacular. This one is a must-read. Next. How to Have Confidence and Power in Dealing with People by Les Giblin. Any book by Les Giblin. He's got some of them that are like 10 pages. The Art of Dealing with People, and there's a couple other. Read them. This gives you insight. Spectacular. Why is dealing with people such a critical and important aspect of your life, and why should you focus on it? Especially if you're watching and you're between 20 and 30 years old, or between 15 and 30 years old. At the end of the day, you have no idea how to communicate. You think that you communicate with people by giving them your Instagram, and then you communicate that way. Look, there's an art and science of communication. If you can communicate with another person, you create affinity with that person. And if you create affinity, then you can work more collaboratively together. If you get people to like you, you can then work better together and develop masterminds, and you and them can get more out of life, in addition to creating connections which young people do not have today. Young people do not have the connections with other human beings like we did years ago, primarily because of social media. The amount of hours that people spend on social media, communicating via social media instead of a phone call, instead of a Zoom, or instead of, most importantly, live and in person. It's mind-numbing what you're doing with social media. It is numbing your mind. I've said it before in the show. When you're on social media, these apps, whether it's Facebook or X, they are set up to create dopamine hits in your brain that you need. Once you don't get that, once your brain is trained by getting dopamine hits, it needs it, and therefore you are addicted, physically addicted to the social media apps. And if you unplug, you have anxiety and panic attacks, and you go into a state of depression. That's a big problem. You cannot concentrate, and if you can't concentrate and focus on a project, you can't accomplish things. The fact is, people have their phone by them, and when they're working on a project, they keep looking at their phone because it goes ping, ping, ping. I had a guy at my house, IT guy. I said, you need to come over and check my computer. So he comes over, and I'm talking to him, and I'm saying, okay, so let me explain exactly what the situation is. So he's there, he's listening, and all of a sudden, there's a ping, and he looks at his watch, and then he comes back. And I'm like, that was annoying. So I'm looking him at the eyes. So I go, so this, let me tell you what so I start saying something, and I want him to concentrate, and all of a sudden he looks at his watch. And then I start talking, and virtually within 3 or 4 minutes, he looks at his watch. I go, do you have someplace to go? Why do you keep looking at your watch? And he goes, oh, it's my Apple Watch, and I'm getting notifications. I said, well, take the goddamn thing off. I go, you're not concentrating. You're not here. You're not in present time. How do you expect to get anything done in your life? And I go, wait a minute. Now I understand why you haven't accomplished anything in your life. Because you don't have any ability to concentrate. You're not putting attention on something long enough to actually make it manifest. It's like taking some dry leaves, and if you have one of these, not microscopes, what do they call it? Not a telescope. Magnifying glass. You have a magnifying glass and you hold it and the sun comes down and you have to hold it steady so that the sun is concentrated, focused, and it's steady at one spot long enough to turn it into fire. This is how you manifest things, by getting people to concentrate and focus. So you don't have interpersonal skills. And how do I know this is true? Because when I meet people, nobody has any personal skills. John Denny does. He's my age. We get together. We have stimulating conversation. He knows how to have a conversation. He knows how to meet somebody for the very first time. Him and I could go out, or some of my other friends from our generation, we can go to anywhere. And within 10 minutes, we have met people, we're having conversations with people, and we get to know them. They get to know us, we get to know them, and we create affinity. When you create this affinity, networking happens, magic happens. This is how your life gets better in every aspect. It's through people. God works through people. Oh, yeah, I don't like that word, God. Oh, God, come on. All right, forget God. The force works through people. Infinite intelligence works through people. Consciousness works through people. Miracles work through people. Energy works through people. You have to be able to communicate with other people and develop affinity. So how do we do it? Well, all communications is selling, because you are selling concepts, ideas, thoughts to another person. So let's talk about selling. And somebody said, well, I don't sell, I don't like selling. That's fine. If you talk to your kids and say you need to go to bed now, you're selling, because you're trying to sell them on going to bed. If you're talking to your spouse about, hey, listen, let's go into the bedroom here and let's have some fun, you're selling. You're trying to convince somebody to do something you want done. Every communication is some form of, quote, selling. You can call it persuasion. You can call it getting people into agreement. You could call it negotiation. It's all really forms of the same thing, communication. But in Sales 101, which is shocking, because I recently was talking with a bunch of sales professionals in the automobile business, in the insurance business, and in the real estate business. And I said, you're a sales professional. Yes. That's how you earn your living. Yes. You've done it for many years. Yes. What's Sales 101? Not one person knew. So I'm going to ask you, do you know what Sales 101 is? Sales 101, like the number one thing in sales. All right, so you're coming into the Kevin Trudeau Sales Training Seminar. Sales 101, this is where we start. Do you know what it is? And it's in every sales training course that I ever went through or read about or talked to, whether it was Tommy Hopkins, one of the greatest sales trainers of all time, Zig Ziglar, one of the greatest sales trainers of all time, his brother Judge Ziglar, one of the greatest sales trainers of all time. Everybody. They know this. I mean, this is like automatic. But nobody in sales knows it today, and you don't know it. And this is the number one thing you need to do when you're talking with another person. Number one is sell yourself first. Sell yourself first. Because selling yourself first means that you get the other person to like you. You get the other person to have affinity with you. And if you do that, whether it's your spouse, your coworkers, your boss, the people that work for you, your kids, your neighbors, magic will happen. If you create affinity, if you get someone to like you by creating affinity. So the real question is, how, Kevin, do I get somebody to like me? Well, number one, by understanding this. And it's in the book Nuggets of Gold. People don't care how much you know until they first know how much you care. How do you get someone to like you? It isn't by talking. It is by listening to them. It is by showing genuine concern and interest in them. Dale Carnegie says it best. Every person has a sign on their forehead. You know what that sign says? It says, "Make me feel important." If you want to sell yourself, which means get people to like you and create affinity, you must make that other person feel important. How do I make them feel important? What are the techniques, Kevin? What are the techniques? Number one, remember you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them proportionately. Listen more than you talk. Dale Carnegie wrote the book, How to Influence and Influence People, this book here. He was known as the world's greatest conversationalist. This is at a time before TV and radio and telephones and all that stuff. People actually went over other people's homes. They went for dinner parties, cocktail parties. They went out to clubs. Nobody stayed home. You know, sometimes you stayed home, but generally people would go out at night. They'd either go to somebody else's home, play cards, have dinner parties. People were mingling. People were socializing. And Dale Carnegie was known as the world's greatest conversationalist. In New York City, one of the socialites was putting together this magnificent event. All the major social people were going there, including the columnists who write for the Society column. The woman invited Dale Carnegie because if you're having a party and you want a successful party, if you had the world's greatest conversationalist there, that's kind of a feather in your cap. He's going to be wandering around talking with people, the world's greatest conversationalist. You're going to have a successful party. And in those days, when somebody came into the event or the party area where all the people were gathered, the butler would introduce them. So people just didn't walk in. They would say, "Presenting Joe Smith." And the people who were talking could hear that. And now they have an idea who just walked in, who just came in. So in this particular case, Carnegie shows up and they say, "Presenting Mr. Dale Carnegie." And the hostess saw him, made a beeline, went running over and said, "Mr. Carnegie, I'm so happy to have you here. I heard you're the world's greatest conversationalist." And he said, "Well, thank you very much. I do have that distinction." She says, "I understand you have been traveling around the world lecturing. You must have many fascinating stories to tell us. We'd love to hear them." He goes, "I would love to share them with you." He says, "But I heard that you recently went on a safari in Africa." He said, "Is that true?" She said, "Well, yes, it is." He said, "Was that your first time to Africa?" She says, "Yes, it was." He says, "How long did you go for?" She goes, "Oh, I was there a month." He says, "I've never been to Africa. What's it like?" She goes, "Mr. Carnegie, let me tell you about it. It was one of the most exciting experiences of my life. First, and she went on to talk and talk and talk. And Mr. Carnegie just listened and listened. He leaned in a little bit. He listened, he listened. He nodded his head as she said things. Are you paying attention? I'm giving you keys here. And afterwards, she said, "Oh, I have to attend to my other guests." They parted and didn't talk for the rest of the evening. The next day, she wrote the Society column article. And she said, "I had a party last night. We invited the world's greatest conversationalist. I had a chance to meet with him, and we talked for over 20 minutes. And I have to say, he is, in fact, the world's greatest conversationalist. Carnegie didn't talk, he listened. He made her feel important by asking questions and showing genuine interest. He listened. So here are the 3 magic words. The 3 magic words that if you use them, will get people to create instant affinity with you. They'll instantly like you because it's something they crave. The 3 magic words. I hear you. I hear you. Deep inside, every one of us wants to be heard. And when you're meeting somebody and somebody is talking, and after that, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, whether it was boring what they said or not, you say, with a little nod, leaning forward a little bit, say, looking him right in the eye, I hear you. And that magic happens. The person instantly lights up inside, and there's an energetic connection. They love you. They like you. And from there, you can move forward. There are many phrases that if you just commit them virtually to memory and start using them, first from memory, and then second from genuine interest, your affinity with other people will dramatically change and go up. And virtually everything in your life will get better. Because you will have people subconsciously pulling for you because they like you. They want you to win. They want you to succeed. So imagine if you have a life where you've met a lot of people and you created affinity. Those people, whether you're talking to them or not, are energetically, positively connected to you. And you have this power going into your field, giving you a boost versus getting everyone to hate you and dislike you. Here's what it comes down to. How do you treat people? If you treat people who are not in a position to do anything for you extremely well, it'll take yourself to another level. See, most of us go into a room, and I've had this happen a million times. I meet somebody, hey, how are you? And they're like, yeah. And then they'll talk, and then all of a sudden somebody will come over and goes, Kevin, I can't believe it, man, your book was so good. And the person will go, you're an author? Yeah, oh, yes, I am. And then somebody goes, yeah, this is Kevin Trudeau. He's the famous author of that. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm so glad to meet you. All of a sudden, they're treating me completely different because now they think I can do something for them. But a minute ago, when they thought I was just some salami in the room, because I wasn't dressed very appropriately at that particular time, I was dressed like a hobo. When they didn't think I could do anything for them, they weren't treating me nice. Treat everyone the same. Whether you think they can do something for you or whether you know they can never do anything for you. Treat them all with love and compassion. Show interest in them. Ask them questions. Are they married? How long have you been married? Do you have kids? What are their names? How old? How are they doing in school? What do they like? You talk about a person's interests. What is interesting to them? That's what you talk about. If you want to appear interesting to somebody, be interested in them. I'll tell you a funny story. There was a guy who, a friend of mine was trying to sell some insurance, and he couldn't sell insurance, couldn't connect with the guy for some reason. And he said, could you come along with me and I can introduce you as my sales manager, and then maybe we can help make a deal and I can watch you kind of sell so I can learn how to do it. I go, listen, I'm not an insurance salesman, but I'll certainly go along to help you. So he booked an appointment to the very begrudgingly man. We went into his office, and the guy says, look, I only have 10 minutes. I'm really not interested in insurance, but I took the meeting because I know you're a friend of some relative, but I'm not really interested. So I know you guys are just wasting your time, but this is a courtesy allowance to have you come in. And I said, well, I'm Kevin. Nice to meet you. And I scanned the room very quickly, and he had some pictures on the mantle of him fishing. And I looked and I saw there was like 3 or 4 of pictures of him with fish, big fish like marlin and thing. And so I said, is that a picture of you fishing? And the guy instantly lit up. Yes. And I walked over and I said, what kind of fish is that? Is that a marlin? And he says, it sure is. I go, are you a marlin? Tell me about that. Well, we were in Cabo San Lucas and blah, 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 blah. And I said, so you actually brought that in yourself? Yeah. How long does it take to catch a marlin? Oh, well, let me tell you about that fight. And this guy went on and started talking about, we landed this thing and it was jumping out of the water and I was pulling it in. It was taking line and my arms, he went on. And I'm sitting there going, wow. And after he told me that whole story, I said, that's unbelievable. He says, yeah, have you ever gone fishing? I goes, man, I only fish for little things like walleye. He goes, oh, you got to go. He goes, would you recommend it? I go, yeah. Can you write down some recommendations of where I can go? Yeah, hold on. And he's writing it all down. He goes, all right, so tell me about this insurance you guys want to sell me. I just shut up. And he says, well, we have these. The guy bought. And now he's a big client with the guy. Big client. It's all about creating affinity. And by the way, I was really fascinated and interested. This is the whole point. It's not manipulation. It's really opening yourself up to be interested. I am interested in people. When I meet somebody, I'm interested. Where do you live? Where are you from? Where do you work? Do you have kids? What do they like to do? What are your hobbies? What's your passions in life? What dreams do you have in life? Where have you traveled to? I'm interested. I like people. So I am interested in listening to their story. I don't want to tell mine. Doesn't mean I won't. And I'll tell a story in 2 minutes. That's the next little trick I'll drip you. If you talk, it's 2 minutes or under. Maximum 2 minutes, and only if you tell a story. Which goes to the next axiom when you're talking. Facts tell, stories sell. Tell stories. People like stories. But always under 2 minutes. You talk too much. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them proportionately. Listen more than you talk. I have to look at the clock now because it's over there. Right, Trey? We have to move the clock, right? So I can actually see it. All right, so listen, we have... The next few days, I am going to be probably sending you some emails and some SMS messages asking you to help. It's the last time. I get 9 days to raise the money. It was originally $725,000. We passed the 200,000 mark, so we got about 500,000 left. So I'll be sending it out. This is the last time, last appeal. Next Friday, I either write the check and it's over. If I don't, I have to go back to court and tell them I didn't raise it. I don't have the support that I thought. And if you want to put me back in prison, go ahead. There's nothing else I can do at this point. I'm sure everything's going to work out. Everything always does. Magic happens. Don't feel under any pressure. Do what you can. But if you can go to KevinTrudeauFanClub.com, make a contribution of any amount, it would be fantastic. Remember, if you make a $1,000 contribution, one-time contribution, you get a free Guru Kev book. They'll be hopefully shipped in January. Leather-bound, absolutely gorgeous, gold embossed. There's a limited numbered edition. There's only 1,000 of them we printed. So it's a limited number edition, and I will sign each one. If you make a contribution of $15,000, you get to come with me for 7 days in June next year to the Golden Door Spa. It's Sunday to Sunday. It's just 30 of us. I think there's only 7 openings to that. And any other contribution you can do would be absolutely fantastic. And if you can't, that's perfectly okay. Yeah, I still love you. I absolutely love you. If you can, it would be great. I really would love, it would be really nice to be able to write a check and tell the judge, there are people around the world that support the mission, not just me personally, but support the mission. And that would be terrific. It really would be good, other than try to go in there and say, I really don't have the support that I thought I did. And that could put me in a little bit of a sideways situation. But we're right there. We're inches away from it being clear. Got a brand new set. We're going to have a brand new show, more information, more details, phone calls, guests. I'm lining up a slew of guests, and maybe we can get Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on here. Maybe we can get other people in powerful positions from around the world. There's a whole bunch of things that we have planned. John Denny is working around the clock, making this show the best show out there, because this is information that if you apply it, it will positively improve the quality of your life and dramatically improve your standard of living. Most importantly, it'll give you a greater sense of peace, joy, and happiness within, which will allow all of your life, every relationship, to be smoother and more wonderful. No stress and anxiety, regardless of what the external conditions are. Upcoming topics and shows is I'm going to tell you the secrets, the methods that I used of how to overcome adversity so that you don't deal with stress and anxiety even when the shit is hitting the fan in your life. Would you like to know that? Well, if you can imagine, I guarantee you, 100% of you, if you were in my shoes over the last 30 years and went through what I went through, you would be dead of cancer right now. You would not have been able to handle it. I mean, I know, because the amount of pressure, and my friends felt it. They were crushed. And I said, relax. I go, how come you're like, all freaking out and can't sleep at night? It's only going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to you. They're like, yeah, but I'm your friend. And what they're really saying is, and maybe they'll come after me next because I'm your friend. That's really why they were freaking out. But I'll give you all those tips. There's going to be a lot happening on this show. We're in for a treat. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not a subscriber. Make sure you like this video, share this video with everybody you know, and make sure you write some comments, because I do sit down and read those comments, and so does John Denny and Trey, so we can make the show better and better for you. The best is yet to come, everybody. This is just the beginning. All I can tell you is really buckle up, because I'm back. I'm back. Much love. We'll see you next week.